Hey, coaches, welcome to Championship Culture. Got a fantastic guest tonight. Chris Cogdill is the head football coach at Chase High School in North Carolina. Chris, I told you, I think you won the contest. Chris, another of those first year at their school, COVID year, and he only had 3 days. He met him on Wednesday. They went home on Friday, and he didn't see him again until June. So I think he wins the prize there. But hey, buddy, we had to work this thing to get you on here. I'm glad we got it worked out, and I sure appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Real excited about it and glad we get it worked out.
Awesome. All right, well, let's jump into it, man. Question number one: can you give a 1-minute elevator introduction of yourself?
My name's Chris Cogdill. I'm the head football coach at Chase High School in near Forest City, North Carolina. That's in southern Rutherford County. We're a small 2A school. We've got about 650 kids in the school. Like you said, I've been there for about 14, 15 months now, right before COVID hit. So this is my first year. We went 4-3. We lost to Shelby, the defending state champ, by 6. Lost to Burns, my former school, and state semifinalists by 14, and we lost to South Point by 2, and all those were conference games. So we were right in there and probably about 5 plays away from maybe being 6-1 overall, just to be honest with you. But before that, like I said, I was at Burns High School. I was actually there as an assistant for 19 years, and I was a defensive coordinator for the last 6 years that I was there, and originally from Waynesville, North Carolina, and graduated from Appalachian State in 2001.
You answered my question because I was going to ask you if you were an offensive guy or a defensive guy, but I was looking at some of them scores. I was thinking you were a defensive guy.
Well, I was a defensive coordinator for most of my career. You know, that's the last thing I did the last 6 years I was at Burns. But to be honest with you, when I got to Chase, we had a defensive coordinator in place that wanted to stay on staff, and so I called the offense this spring, and that was, I don't know, I know you're an offensive guy, but I think if you know defense, it makes it a lot easier to call the offense as far as that goes. You know what you're looking for a little bit. You know where stuff's weak. So it worked out pretty good for us.
And you find out offense is a lot easier, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I said that when I was calling the defense. I was like, on offense, you got to get ready for, 2 or 3 fronts a week, maybe 2 coverages. On defense, you got 42 formations and 4 plays and 6 passes out of all of them. I mean, it's just a nightmare. So
always be right. On offense, You only got to be right every now and then.
one out of 4 plays on offense, if you're right, you're doing really, really good. On defense, the first time you're wrong, it's 7 points. So, it's a lot easier, and that helps you be the head coach more, so to speak, I guess. I don't know how – there's people that do it. It'd be really hard for me to be the head coach and the defensive coordinator and do it the way I did it when that's all I had to do, I guess.
Well, I just thought that being a defensive coordinator, it forces you to grow because you got to put so much time and work into it that I think it prepares you to be a head coach.
Yeah.
You can get away on offense. You don't have to be. I just defensive coordinators. To be a good one, you got to be disciplined and you got to get into the film and you got to do the work.
And that film is almost a hobby for me. I love watching film. But yeah, you're right. Like, you can get bailed out by athletes on offense, but I've always said a lack of athletic ability in your team shows up more on defense than it does on offense. You can hold on the ball for 3 or 4 minutes to get some first downs on offense, but if you're missing some athletes on defense, you're going to get exposed in some spots in a hurry. So, one thing I always did is I'm kind of a visual guy, and everybody talks about like all the great technology that Huddle has to offer now as far as like reports and scout cards. And that's great if that's who you are. But, I'm a little bit too old. I'm 41 years old. I came around right at the start of the technology boom. I don't know how to work it great. My daughter had to show me how to connect my earbuds to the laptop. I'd never done that before tonight. So I still drew all my scout cards by hand, every single one of them. Helped me see how we were going to line up and make sure everything in the game plan was okay. And I did all my reports, 1st and 10, 2nd and 10. I did all those by hand, even though people be like, Huddle do that for you. Yeah, I know, but this is the way I learned. So that's the way I did it.
Almost every really good D coordinator I know says the same thing. They still want to do it by hand because it forces them to almost have that stuff memorized by game night. All right, question number 2. How do you define culture in your program?
It's funny. I read the list of questions that you sent me, and I can remember my first day meeting the kids, or maybe it was my second day. We started trying to build the culture we wanted it to be, and I wrote that word on the board, and I looked up I guess, the dictionary definition of it. And to paraphrase that, it was like something along the lines of the common actions of a subset of a group of people, or something like that. And I had to simplify that for our kids, and I said, basically, you take a group of people and the way they act on a day-to-day basis and the things they do that are a normal part of their customs, that's what your culture is. So, that's to me what it is in football as well. It's the way you act, the way you carry yourself on a day-to-day basis. What do you do on every day? What are your key doing on a regular basis? That sort of thing to me is just what your culture is, as far as like high school football and what we're talking about here tonight is concerned.
Yeah, I love that definition. Just I think the norms and behaviors, really, that's everything your culture is. It's what's actually happening on your team.
Yeah, and some of it is not necessarily, like, it's cool to talk about culture, but some of it is not necessarily words. A lot of it is actions, like how your program acts. Like, I'll just give you an example of our program is, if you're listening to this and you didn't know, here in North Carolina, we played football in the spring. Coach, you know that. I mean, you played in the spring. So we finished up on April the 9th. We lost by 2, threw in the end zone on the last play of the game. Lost by 2 to South Point, who's a really good program in our part of the state. And, I was planning on giving the kids a week off from the weight room, because normally after a football season's over, you tell the kids, hey, boys, we're going to stay up here in the gym and shoot ball for a week or just relax. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought about we didn't have but about a little under 4 months before we started practicing again. I was like, man, we're going to waste a week. And then I started trying to put together my summer schedule, and I was like, dang it, we ain't taking a week off. We're going to the weight room on Monday. So I thought, when I walked in the gym on Monday, 4th period, I said, all right, boys, let's go. I thought I'd get, some, coach, come on, Bubba. Our kids just went. They didn't question it. They just went. And to me, that says a lot about your culture. That's what our culture is. They didn't expect to have a day off. They expected to go to the weight room the Monday after the season ended. So that's just a good example of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to make our culture like.
Yeah, I love it. Great example. And unfortunately, I am familiar with South Point, so and probably love them as much as you do. All right, so let's go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm not terribly disappointed that we're not in their conference anymore.
They're pretty tough. Question number 3, and this is kind of the nuts and bolts of the whole thing. This is where we want to steal your ideas. What are the 3 best things you do to build culture in your program?
Well, I'm going to tell you the very best thing I do, I can't take credit for. I stole it from something we did at Burns when I was there working for Coach David Devine. And to be honest with you, I think we stole it from Derek Miner, who's at East Burke High School up in Ichard, North Carolina right now. At the time, Coach Miner was at Fred T. Ford, and he was doing a off-season character development program called Earn Your Stripes. And that's how the kids at Ford got the tiger stripes across their helmet, like the Bengals, like the Bengals wear or whatever. Well, we had an assistant coach named Vernon Beaver that had coached with Coach Miner at Ford, and then he came to Burns to call the offense. And we felt like we needed something. Like I think we'd finished a 4-7 year, maybe we're 4-8, and we thought we had a good group coming back. Like we had like 15 kids that started as sophomores that were going to be seniors the next year after we were 4-8. We felt like we needed something, just a little something to get us over the hump, because we got to play Crest and Shelby and South Point and all those teams I mentioned before that we're playing at Chase. So we were playing them at Burns. And so, he said, hey, how about this? And so we kind of took Coach Miner's plan, me and Coach Beaver and Coach Devine at Burns, and we made it into our plan. We called it Mad Dog Pride. He was trying to earn enough points to make Team Mad Dog. And when I came to Chase, like I said, I brought it with me. We renamed it. We named it the Trojan Army. You're trying to earn enough off-season points to be a part of the Trojan Army. And so basically, it's a character development program, and the kids earn points for different things that they do. Every day you work out, you earn points. If you skip a workout, like maybe not if you're not at school for class that day, but if you blatantly skip a workout, you lose points. You get points for your grades. We give out 50 points for an A, 25 points for a B, 0 for a C, because that's average, and we want to be better than average. I think we take away 25 points for a D and 50 points for an F. So they earn points for grades. They earn points for community service. They earn points for fundraisers and doing a certain number of fundraisers or raising a certain amount of money. You can set all that stuff up, the way you want it to be, points value wise, that sort of thing, and then at the end of the off season, you tally up the points and you set a certain goal. Like at Burns, to make Team Mad Dog, you had to earn 2,000 off season points. Now with COVID and everything that's going on, it's kind of crazy. We had to adjust that at Chase because last year everything was pretty much based off of workouts. Like you didn't go do community service because you were supposed to be socially distant. Now the off season is really short, so from April to August, I don't know if my kids can earn. I don't know if they can earn that many points. I tallied up the spreadsheet this morning when I got up, and I think my top kid had earned maybe 600 points or so in about a month. Because I give them 200. Didn't mention that, but I give them 200 points for playing another spring sport. You play offset. We want to encourage kids to be multi-sport athletes. You got to give them something for playing another sport in another season. So if you sign up for weightlifting class, you get 200 points. If you play a spring sport, you get 200 points. Every day you work out, you get 10 points. And then, like I said, grades, fundraisers, stuff like that, we just add that on. And then, the whole goal of this is there's some rewards at the end. There's some certain things you're trying to achieve. Like, for example, if you make the Trojan Army, we put your name on the back of your jersey. You get to pick your equipment first. Those guys get the first pick of helmets, shoulder pads, jersey number, that kind of thing. So there's that benefit. We let our Trojan Army winners, they get to go first in the pregame meal line. Instead of some coaches saying, all right, seniors, go get your pregame meal, juniors. We go Trojan Army, then seniors, then juniors, then sophomores that didn't make it. So we make it to where there's some definite advantages for doing what you're supposed to do. Basically, you're earning points for doing what you're supposed to do throughout the week. And that made a huge difference at Burns when we put that into place. And like I said, the fall of 2018, we were 4-8, and we put that in place that off season. And me and Coach Devine ran it. And in the fall of 2019, we were 12-3 and lost in the state semifinal game to Shelby, who was also in our conference. 2 of our 3 losses were to Shelby, and the other one was to Kings Mountain. So, I obviously took that with me. It went really well, the best we could do it before, with the whole COVID situation. Like I said, it was kind of jacked up at Chase. It's going to be kind of jacked up this year. We've started it. And you just tally it on a spreadsheet. Like we use Google for everything in Rutherford County schools. So I just make a Google sheet and I list all my kids' names on it. And I use the columns just like Excel. It's the same as Excel. And every day after weightlifting, I go in and put that day's points in, what they earned or didn't earn or that sort of thing. Feel like I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but I keep thinking of things I give the kids points for. I give them points for, like, if you make the top 10 board on the max outs, like, top 10 squat, you get 50 points. Top 10 40-yard dash time, you get 50 points. Stuff like that. Basically, whatever you want it to be, whatever you want your kids to do well, you give them points for, and whatever you don't want them to be doing, you take away points for. You go to ISS, you lose points. You get suspended, you lose points. Stuff like that. So that is single-handedly the greatest thing that I have. Now, probably number two that goes right along with that, and it's a part of that, is we do a character trait of the week. And when the kids come in, fourth period for weightlifting, we spend 5 minutes or so before we warm up every day on our character trait of the week. And it can be, again, for your program, it can be whatever character traits you want. We're on our 6th week this week, and I have done love, brotherhood, accountability, dependability, courage, and toughness in that order. And, we tied it all in. We talked about love and how important love was, and it was important that we love one another. We talked about different types of love. We talked about how when you love someone or you love doing something, that inspires you to put more into whatever you're doing. You'll work harder for somebody else if you love them than you will for yourself. I gave the example personally how, like my wife wants me to do things that I don't like to do, but I do it for her because I love her. If you love to play the game, you'll work harder because, you want to be successful. And we talked about that and talked about
you have a certain way you break that down each day, like a formula. You're going to introduce it on Monday, and then you're going to do this on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
You have that.
Generally speaking, I introduce it on Monday, and I talk about it like what I want, what we think the word means, or what the definition of the word is. Introduce it. Like I gave the example with love with my wife, that I told you about a minute ago. On Tuesday, I try to look up some quotes. Like I just get on the internet and type in quotes about love, or tomorrow morning I'll get up and type in quotes on toughness, and I'll just look and find 2 or 3 quotes that I share or that I like, and then that day I'll just go in there and share those quotes with the kids, kind of review what we talked about today and go over those quotes. Our kids are still all remote on Wednesdays. Like we're doing school 4 days a week. So we don't really have anything on Wednesdays. And then on Thursday and Friday, I try to have the kids talk about it. Not just me up there talking the whole time, but I think it's important that a team, you got to be able to open up to each other, and you got to be able to talk and to each other. So I try to make the kids, I try to pick a kid or two. I ask for volunteers. If they don't volunteer, I voluntold them. And, I appoint a guy or two to talk about it. So that's kind of the format that I follow as far as that goes. But then after we finished talking about love and the different types of love and stuff like that, the next week we did brotherhood. So we were able to tie those together, love and brotherhood, tie them together. Talked about how important it was for them to be a brotherhood. And, we got some new guys that have came into our program in the last few weeks. So I thought that was really important because we got to accept them and they're coming to us. So they got to meet our standards and do things the way that we want them to be done. So we talked about that for a week, and then we did accountability, which we tied back into brotherhood. And if you're a brotherhood, you hold each other accountable. We talked about how you got to hold yourself accountable first. And then once you do that, then when you're doing it right, you can hold others accountable. Then the next week we tied in dependability to accountability, and how important it was to be dependable. Your most important ability is your dependability. You got to be there. I talked a lot about, like, if Jimmy is my best player, it doesn't do me any good to build my game plan around Jimmy, throwing Jimmy the ball 25 times Friday night if Jimmy don't show up for practice on Tuesday. So we talked about dependability. Last week we kind of switched gears. We were kind of talking about those, I guess, abstract ideas, love, brotherhood, that kind of thing. And we started talking about what I would consider a more concrete idea. We started talking about courage. We started talking about how it takes courage to, play the game of football, obviously. It's a physical football game. If you're a big gap backer and you get an ISO read, it takes courage to stick your nose in there and take on the fullback. We talked about that. We talked about how it took courage to hold your teammates accountable. Like, that ain't the cool thing to do. All the kids want to be cool these days, and you want to be accepted. You want to be popular. So if you see Johnny over here and he's not doing the right thing, he's smoking or he's doing drugs or whatever, it's the easy thing to do is to go be a part of that in crowd. But The hard thing to do is to tell them, hey, Johnny, you know that ain't what we expect from here. So we talked about the different types of courage. And then today we started talking about toughness. And we talked about how you couldn't have toughness without courage. The reason we did courage first is you can't be tough without having courage. One of the quotes I read to kids on courage that I really like came from Maya Angelou, and it said, courage is the most important of all values, because without courage, you can't have any other value consistently. And I thought that was really good. Like, you can't love consistently without courage. When you love someone, you open yourself up to them. And so you're vulnerable. That takes courage, you know. To hold somebody accountable, hold yourself accountable takes courage. To be dependable, it takes courage. To be tough, it takes courage. So I just thought that was really good. And that's one thing we've really harped on, you know, in the last couple of weeks. And, you know, like, now we're on toughness. So we talked about physical toughness today. We talked about mental toughness, how in a few weeks it's going to be summertime and there's going to be days out there where I'm just absolutely running on the death, and it's going to be hot and humid and they're going to be miserable. And I'm going to say, all right, one more, put your hand on the line. And, you know, you got to have that mental toughness to put your hand on the line and go run one more. So that's kind of where we go with all that. And again, you know, we use different ones at Burns when I was there too. I mean, we would start that in January and have a different word every week from January to May. So we were able to use a lot more than those 6. I mean, you know, those were just an example of the 6 that I chose to use this year because I felt like those were some things our team needed to hear.
I love it, Coach. That's I love both of them.
I guess, you know, I don't know. I guess those things are so big, you know, you just reinforce your culture every day. Like, I give a lot of credit. Like, I got a lot of pats on the back this spring for going 4-3. I told a lot of people that, to me, going 4-3 is it's no super feat, but the kids played hard and the program's going in the right direction. I can't take all the credit for that. Coach Radford, that was at Chase the last 2 years before me, and his staff did a wonderful job, a great job. Totally changed the trajectory of the program. So I say they did the hard work. Like, they turned it around. My job is just to kind of keep it going, you know, and to cultivate it. But the thing you got to remember is it may be easier to change your culture than it is to cultivate it and keep it going. Because if your school's been losing, things hadn't been going the kids' way, they'll buy into anything when they see results. You know, you've got to keep it going and stretch it out over time and not be complacent. So that's kind of where my job is now. So continually to reinforce these values that we're trying to instill. That's a big part of what I do every day. You know, like, we're in the weight room today and we're squatting 5 reps at 90% for our last set. And I'm screaming, it takes toughness. It takes courage. Hold each other accountable. So they're hearing those buzzwords over and over and over. We're talking about them every day. You know, I'm pretty active on Twitter, on social media, just because of football. I'll see a quote on there that somebody puts on there, and I'll retweet it if it has something to do with this week's word, like it takes courage, or it takes toughness, or accountability. Just little reminders all the time, because we don't want to go back. We don't want to go backwards. We think we got a good group of athletes, and we're excited about the fall. So we want to make sure everything we're doing, we're continuing to cultivate that. And I don't know if that's really number 3 or if that's you know, a great thing that we do, but I think it's important, you know, because you may think you've got your culture turned around, but you can't take it for granted. The minute you stop trying to grow it, it's going to die. So it's like, you know, it's like a garden. It's easy to plant a garden and you're excited about growing your corn or your tomatoes or your flowers or whatever you plant in your garden, and you throw a little fertilizer out there, put a little water on, boom, plant comes up, right? But if you just leave it alone, after that comes up, it's going to wilt and it's going to die in the summer heat. So I think your team culture is kind of that same way.
I think that's absolutely, you just nailed it. You know, that's a lot of guys, they want to read the quote and teach the lesson one time, and then they don't keep coming back and watering it. And I think it's It's the day after day. It's a little bit each day. Do a little, a lot, not a lot, a little. Just coming to it every single day is how you grow that thing, and how you really get it into their DNA. So I'm
You
on,
know,
man. I think you're knocking it out of the park.
and, they're high school kids. I love them. We got a great group of kids. Like, we got good boys, really good kids. Yes, sir. No, sir. Don't really get into trouble. I mean, that part of our job is pretty easy. We got a great group, but they're still high school boys, 14 to 17 years old. They're going to do dumb stuff. They're going to screw up. They're going to make you mad. And you just got to use those as learning opportunities. Like, hey, is this what we learned about? Is this what we talked about? Is this who we are? Today I took if I can find my picture I took of it so I quote it right. I was thinking about what we're going to talk about tonight. And today I took one of our boards in the weight room, and I took our 6 character traits that we had talked about, and I put them all together. And I wrote, do you love your brothers enough to hold them accountable, to be dependable, to have enough courage to be tough in the face of adversity? If you are, then you can be a Trojan football player. So, that's kind of next week's exam week for us. So that was kind of tying it all together in the end and what we want to instill. And you got to remind them of that. They're, like I said, they're high school kids. You got to remind them, hey, don't do that, do this. And you can use those values to teach that along the way. Like, we even talked about when we're warming up in pre-workout warm-ups, like, be dependable enough to do warm-ups right. If you can't do high knees right, if you can't do A skips right, if you can't do walking lunges right, how am I going to trust you to do right on 4th and 2 when the game's online? How am I going to trust you to tackle the dive against a veer team? How am I going to trust you to remember that you block down on buck? How am I going to trust you to remember your route on mesh? Whatever it is that you do, if I can't trust you to do A skips. So we all tie, I tie that all back into that. They hear that word a lot because I repeat it in everything that we do.
Yeah, I love it. You're doing a great job, man. Let's keep rolling. Question number 4. 19-year veteran. What do you know now that you wish you knew when you first got started?
Man, there's so much I wish I knew now that I didn't know then. I think the biggest thing is it's about the kids. I think I knew that I wanted to coach high school football when I was in the 10th grade. I played at Tuscola High School in Waynesville, North Carolina, and football, while maybe not as good in the mountains as people would think it is in other parts of the state or have as many athletes, it was important to our community. So it was a big deal to us. And I stopped growing. I'm the same size now I was in the 10th grade. So I knew I wasn't going to play in the NFL pretty early on, and I knew I wanted to be around the game. But, I thought it was about me, and I was going to do this or I was going to do that. And pretty early on, that's kind of the way I thought. And it didn't take me too many years to realize it was about the kids. And everything you do is for the kids. Just kind of developed, and I've matured just like anybody else as I've gotten older. Yeah, I want to win. I hate losing. My wife fusses at me because she don't think I enjoy winning enough sometimes, but I absolutely hate losing. I probably hate losing more than I like winning. We beat East Rutherford, who's our arch rival, in a rivalry game, and I was real happy after that one. And this was like, I don't know, maybe the 4th game of the spring, and we was in the team huddle, and one of our team captains was like, "Oh my God, Coach smile! It's the first time I've seen him smile in weeks." So I don't know that I get too excited about winning, but I really hate losing. But what I've learned is that what you do is not just about winning and losing. It's about teaching kids to do things the right way. And if you do things the right way, and you teach them their character trait values, and you teach them the value of hard work, and you put them in the weight room, and you work hard, it don't matter what you do in the weight room. I firmly believe there's all these programs out there, bigger, faster, stronger. The workout program I've got that I use, that we started using at Burns when Matt Beam was the head coach there. mean, there's all West Side Barbell, whatever. They're 14, 15, 16-year-old kids. They got testosterone raging through their body. As long as they work hard, they're gonna get strong. And you do that, and that the winning is a byproduct of that. If you start doing those things right, the winning takes care of itself. I believe if you're doing those things right, you'll win games you ain't supposed to win. When talent's equal, that'll be the difference. And so that's just kind of the two big things off the top of my head that I probably wish I knew a little more about in 2001. But we're all young and dumb, and we got to earn our stripes, so to speak, and that's what we did.
Well, I love your, when talent's equal, it's character and culture that are going to push you over the top. I love the whole concept, man. Chase is definitely in good hands, man. You knocked this thing out of the park, and very impressive. And I know your kids are lucky to be under you the way you're doing things, buddy. Let's hit the last one. Give me your contact information. I'm sure there's going to be guys that want to touch base with you and steal some of your ideas.
All right, my cell phone number is 704-473-8787.
What's your
my email?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say my email address is Cogdill, my first initial and my last name, Cogdill at rcsnc.org.
And you're active on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
Hold on, let me look it up. I think it's at Coach Cogdill.
At Coach_Cogdill.
Yeah, at Coach_Cogdill.
All right, so I'll put the Twitter in the show notes so they can DM you and get started that way. Coach, man, you did fantastic, buddy.
Thank you.
I'm stealing I'm stealing almost everything you're doing, brother. You're doing a lot of good stuff.
Well, like I said, I can't take credit for it. I didn't invent it. That's the way football coaching is. None of us, well, somebody, I guess, somewhere along the line invented something, but I didn't. I just been doing it for, 20 years now. And luckily with that comes a lot of experience, and you see what things you like and you take them with you. And, we're just a hodgepodge, all different kind of stuff our offense is that way, man. I mean, our offense is a hodgepodge and wing tee, running plays from the shotgun with air raid, drop back concepts, and fast screens. It's just stuff along the way that I've picked up that I've liked, and we put it all together and made it who we are.
Well, that's how it works. Unfortunately, when you trace some of them ideas back, there was some basketball coach that came up with it. It always hurts my feelings when I find that out.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Well, brother, you did a great job. This will come on this Saturday.
All right, good deal. I appreciate you having me on. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm not a big technology guy. This is the first one of these things I've ever done. My family was kind of like, "You're doing what?" And I was like, "I'm going to do a podcast." And they said, "Do you know what that is?" And I said, "No, not really. This is like an audio recording that people listen to, right?"
Well, the video will come on YouTube, and then the audio will be on. It's actually
right.
Yeah. So you'll be on both, man. You're worldwide.
It was a first for me, that's for sure.
Well, you did great, buddy, and I appreciate you doing it.
Thank you. Appreciate you.